The delivery John Miller was not the kind of man who looked for adventure. His life was quiet, almost boring. He worked the night shift at a small courier office in a sleepy part of the city. The streets outside were empty at night, only the hum of a few passing cars and the distant sound of a train. Most nights, John would drink cheap coffee, sort packages, and scroll through news on his phone. Nothing exciting ever happened here. That night felt the same until the bell above the office door rang. John looked up from his desk. A tall figure stepped inside. The man, or was it a man, wore a long silver cloak with a hood that covered most of his face. The air seemed colder when he walked in, like he had brought the winter night inside with him. The stranger carried a small metal box, shiny and smooth, about the size of a lunch container. There were no labels, no shipping stickers, no barcodes. Just a strange symbol carved into the top a circle with 3 curved lines inside it. The man placed the box on the counter. His voice was low and calm. "You are John Miller." John blinked. Yeah, that's me." "You must sign for this delivery," the stranger said, sliding a small digital pad across the counter. John frowned. "Wait, this isn't how it works. People bring packages to me so I can send them." "You're not supposed to." The man's tone sharpened. "Only you can sign for this. No one else." There was something about his eyes shadowed under the hood, but bright, almost glowing. John felt a strange pull in his chest, like the air had turned heavier. Against his better judgment, he picked up the stylus and scribbled his name. Moment he finished the last letter, the pad flickered. His signature disappeared, replaced by symbols, sharp, twisting lines that looked alien. "What is this?" John asked, stepping back. The stranger said nothing. He turned, walked to the door, and stepped outside. "Hey!" "Wait," John called, but the door swung shut. And when he rushed out to look, the street was empty. The man was gone. John turned back to the counter. The box was still there. It was humming. At first, it was faint, like a small engine running. Far away. Then it grew louder, the metal vibrating under his fingertips. A thin line of blue light appeared across the top, then spread, forming a glowing grid. John took a step back. Okay. Definitely not normal. The lid clicked open with a hiss. A burst of light shot into the air above the box, forming a hologram. 3 figures appeared, tall women, with skin that shimmered like silver and gold. Their hair floated around them like it was underwater, glowing faintly. Their eyes were bright, almost too bright to look at. They spoke in a language John had never heard. The words sounded like music and thunder mixed together. Then, as if a translator had switched on, the voice changed to clear English. "By Galactic Law, the signature is binding. You are now contracted to the marriage pact." John froze. What now?" The woman in the center looked at him. Directly, her eyes unblinking. "You have agreed to unite with the House of Zephyra Prime. By law, you will be joined to the Tri-Sisters of the High Regent." John laughed nervously. "Oh, okay. Sure. And after that, do I win a trip to Mars? Is this a reality show prank?" The 3 women did not laugh. "This is no game. Human John Miller," the one on the left said, her voice like ice. "Your acceptance protects our house. Without your bond, we will be hunted." John rubbed his face. "Look, I think you've got the wrong guy. I don't even have a girlfriend, let alone a 3 alien whatevers." The hologram flickered, then vanished, leaving the room dim again. For a moment, John thought maybe he had fallen asleep at his desk. But the box was still there. The hum was still there. And the air in the office felt heavier, like the walls were closing in. Then came the sound-slow, heavy footsteps outside. John's head snapped toward the door. Shadows moved past the frosted glass window. Something big, something that didn't. Walk like a human. The door rattled. The metal frame bent slightly, like someone was testing it, or trying to break in. John swallowed hard. Nope, not doing this tonight. He grabbed the box, thinking he'd toss it outside and lock the door. But the moment he touched it, the humming grew louder, and a sharp voice echoed inside. His head, "Do not abandon us." John dropped the box like it was hot. His heart was pounding now that the footsteps outside stopped. Silence. Then bang. The glass in the door cracked from a single blow. John stumbled back toward the counter, eyes fixed on the door. He didn't know what was out there. He didn't know what that signature meant. But deep down, he already felt it. Whatever had started tonight wasn't going to end anytime soon. And somehow, it was all his fault. Asterisk the confusion. John's heart still hadn't slowed down. The cracked glass on the door glimmered under the flickering office light. He held his breath, waiting for another hit, but none came. Instead, there was a soft sound. Tap, 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 tap. It wasn't fists anymore. It was claws. John took a slow step toward the door, peering through the broken glass. For half a second, he saw it an eye. Round, black, and unblinking, reflecting the streetlight like polished stone. He stumbled back so fast his heel caught on a box, sending him to the floor. The metal box. The one with the alien symbol. The hum from the box turned sharp like an alarm. A column of light shot out again, but this time, the hologram of the three alien sisters didn't appear standing. In calm elegance. They looked tense, alert. Their eyes darted around as if they could see into the office. "You must not open the door," said the one in the center. Her voice, though calm, carried the weight of command. "No problem," John said, scrambling to his feet. "I wasn't planning on it." The eldest sister leaned closer, her silver hair floating like it was underwater. "The signature marks you now. They will come. They will not stop." "Who is they?" John demanded. A loud metallic thunk echoed outside like heavy armor, hitting the pavement. The sisters' eyes turned toward the sound. The youngest one spoke now, her voice lower, sharper. "Debt collectors. Enforcers of Galactic Law. They will claim you or take your life as payment." John's throat felt dry. "For what? I didn't do anything. I just signed for a package." The center sister's gaze hardened. "You accepted. A sacred bond. On Zephyr Prime, it is no small thing. You are now our consort. That makes you a shield." "A what?" John asked, his voice breaking. Before she could answer, the front door shattered inward with a single deafening crash. Shards of glass sprayed across the floor, and then it stepped inside. The creature was massive, 7 feet at least. Its body was covered in black chitin that caught the light in jagged edges. 4 insect-like arms folded and unfolded as it ducked through the doorway. Its head was narrow, its mouth a set of sharp mandibles that clicked and shifted, and those eyes black, endless, and unblinking, locked straight on him. "Human," it said in a voice like grinding stone. "You have taken what is not yours. The pact must be broken, or you must be broken." John raised his hands. Whoa, let's talk about this." The alien sister's hologram burst brighter, surrounding John in a faint dome of shimmering light. The insectoid slammed its top arms against the invisible barrier. Sparks flew where its claws struck. "He is bound." The eldest sister shouted, "You cannot take him without trial." The insectoid hissed, a sound that made John's skin crawl. "Then the trial will be now." Without warning, it drove one claw straight into the barrier. The light flared and dimmed. The box shook violently on the counter. John could feel something heat, pressure, like the air itself was collapsing inward. The middle sister's voice cut through the chaos. "We cannot hold it here. Human, you must leave this place." Leave? There's a giant space bug in the only door. Not the door, she said, pointing behind him. The alley. John glanced back. There was no alley exit in the office. Just a wall. And then the wall opened. A narrow passage of swirling blue light appeared, twisting and shimmering like water in a glass. The sister's hologram flickered. Go now. If you stay, you die. The insectoid's second strike cracked the barrier. John didn't need more convincing. He grabbed the metal box and ran for the swirling portal. The air around it buzzed with static, tiny sparks biting at his skin, the last thing he heard before. Jumping through with the alien enforcer's roar. You cannot run from the law. Then dash silence. John hit the ground hard, the breath knocked out of him. When he opened his eyes, the world was wrong. The sky above was black, but filled with moving shapes, vast ships, glowing arcs of light, and creatures flying like living comets. The ground beneath him was a metal surface that stretched endlessly, with rivers of glowing blue energy running through it. Towers the size of mountains rose all around Dot, and in front of him, the three sisters stood. Not holograms, real they looked. Taller in person, their shimmering skin casting faint reflections on the metal floor. The eldest stepped forward, her eyes fixed on him. John Miller of Earth, she said, you are now under the protection of the House of Zephyr Prime, and you are in more danger than you could imagine. Asterisk, the first threat. John's brain was still catching up. One moment, he was in his courier office, dealing with a space bug that wanted to crush him. The next, he was standing on some alien highway in the sky. The air here didn't feel like Earth's. It tasted metallic, and every breath tingled in his lungs. Above, massive starships slid silently through the black, their engines glowing like molten gold. Far below, something enormous moved like a shadow swimming under glass. The sisters stood close, scanning the horizon. The middle sister's voice was calm, but urgent. We do not have much time. The enforcer will track the bond signature. He will come through soon. John clutched the metal box tighter. That thing can follow us here? You said we escaped. The youngest sister shook her head. Escape is never complete. Not when the law is hunting. Her words sent a chill down his spine. Suddenly, the air behind them rippled like heat waves bending light. The ripple grew, deepened, and tore open into a jagged, black-edged portal. Through it stepped the insectoid enforcer. Only now, it wasn't alone. Two more creatures emerged with it. Smaller, but faster-looking, their limbs ending in sharp, glowing blades. Their eyes burned red. The eldest sister's voice turned sharp. Stay behind us. The enforcer didn't waste time. It pointed one claw straight at John. Human, surrender the bond. We will take it from your corpse if we must. John tried to sound brave, but it came out shaky. I'm not keeping it. Take it back. The eldest sister's head snapped toward him. You cannot undo it now. Only death breaks the pact, and that would doom us all. Great, John muttered. No pressure. The first of the smaller creatures lunged forward, faster than John could blink. Its blade arm swung down but hit nothing. A shimmering wall of light erupted from the ground between the sisters and the attackers. Sparks scattered like fireworks. The sisters moved with precise, sharp gestures, weaving threads of glowing energy into the barrier. The enforcer roared and slammed both upper arms into the shield. The ground under John's feet vibrated with the impact. The eldest sister gritted her teeth. Our shield will not hold for long here. We are far from home. The middle sister looked at John. Human, there is one path, but it will require your kind's talent. John blinked. My kind's talent? What? Drinking too much coffee and paying bills late? The youngest sister's lips curved, almost a smile. Improvisation? Behind them, a narrow maintenance platform stretched out along the tower's side. Beyond it nothing but open. Air and the endless drop. Strange glowing pipes ran along the edge, pumping streams of liquid light. The middle sister pointed. Those conduits feed the city's defense grid. If you can cross and overload one, it will force a system reboot. The shock will push the enforcer back into the void. John stared at the pipes, then at the 100-story fall beneath them. So, cross a death bridge, break alien tech I've never seen before, and hope it zaps the murder bug? Yes, she said simply. The barrier flickered again. The enforcer's claws were punching through now, each strike tearing glowing threads away. John's legs moved before his brain could stop them. He ran toward the platform, wind whipping his face. The metal groaned under his shoes, every step echoing into the drop below. Halfway across, one of the smaller blade-armed hunters leapt after him. Its claws scraped sparks against the railing. John's heart slammed against his ribs. He reached. The glowing conduit grabbed the nearest panel, and without thinking slammed the metal box against it. The box's symbol lit up like a flare. Energy crackled, surged, and exploded outward. A shock wave of blue light ripped through the air, throwing the hunter backward into the void. The enforcer roared in fury as the shock wave hit it. Its body twisted, legs scraping against the platform as the black portal behind it yawned wide. The force pulled it backward, the red-eyed glare fixed on John until it vanished into darkness. Silence fell, broken only by John's ragged breathing. The sisters crossed the platform to him. The eldest studied him for a long moment. For someone untrained, you act quickly. John shrugged weakly. Back on Earth, we call it panic. But deep down, a small spark of pride flickered. Maybe. Humans weren't as outmatched as they looked. Asterisk escape plan. The wind on the platform howled, carrying the faint metallic taste of alien air. John's hands still shook from the shockwave he'd unleashed. He could feel the sisters' eyes on him. But before any of them could speak, the youngest tilted her head sharply, listening to something only she could hear. "They're not gone," she said. That was only the first hunt. John frowned. The what now? The eldest didn't answer. Instead, she pressed her palm to the glowing pipe beside them. The metal under her hand shifted, unfolding like petals. Inside was a small compartment. Holding a sleek, silver sphere, the size of a basketball dot, she tossed it into the open air. The sphere spun once, then exploded into a storm of silver shards that swirled together, forming the shape of a ship, small, dagger-shaped, and clearly built for speed. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, adapting to the wind. John blinked. Please tell me that thing has seatbelts. Before they could board, a shadow swept over them. John looked up, and his stomach dropped. High above, 3 dark shapes streaked across the sky. They weren't like the insectoid enforcer. These were fast, sleek craft shaped like spinning blades, their edges glowing red-hot from the friction of the air. They curved downward, slicing toward the platform. They called reinforcements, the middle sister said flatly. The eldest didn't hesitate. On board, now. The ship's side melted open into a ramp. John ran up first, gripping the edge, for balance as the wind tried to shove him off. Inside, the cockpit glowed with pale blue light, the walls shifting like they were alive. He barely sat before the ramp sealed shut. Asterisk, the youngest took the pilot's seat, her hands sinking into the console as if it were liquid. The ship groaned, then launched forward so fast John was pinned against his seat. They dove off the platform, weaving between towering spires. Outside, the alien city blurred bridges made of light, giant rings spinning slowly in the air, creatures the size of whales drifting between skyscrapers. And behind them, the blade ships followed. Can't we just outrun them? John shouted over the rising hum. Not in their hunting range, the youngest replied. They have anchors on this world's energy currents. We must break free into open sky. John glanced at the eldest. And how do we do that? She looked at him with the same calm that made his skin crawl. We fly where no sane pilot will follow. The ship dove lower, threading between streets that were little more than glowing lines. Suspended in air, the hunters stayed close, red trails burning behind them. Every time one tried to line up a shot, the youngest rolled the ship into impossible angles, barely scraping past the edges of buildings. But they were losing ground. One of the hunters. Ships spun sideways, releasing a swarm of black drones, small, fast, and armed with needle-like weapons. They darted toward the sister ship like angry hornets. The middle sister glanced at John. Your kind is good. Throwing things. Yes, John stared. Throwing things? That's your plan? She tossed him a metallic disc. Open the rear hatch. Throw it when I say. The hatch slid open behind him, revealing nothing but open air and the chaos of the chase. The wind tore at his clothes, threatening to drag him out. He gripped the disc so tight his knuckles ached. Now! The middle sister shouted. John hurled. The disc, as hard as he could dot it, spun in the air and unfolded mid-flight into a blazing sphere. The sphere exploded into a net of crackling blue energy, catching the swarm of drones and frying them in a single blinding flash. The blast's shockwave shoved their ship forward, and for a moment they gained distance. But the eldest's voice was grim. The hunters will not stop, and the enforcer, he will call the tribunal. John didn't like the sound of that. Tribunal? Like a court? Not a court, she said. An execution ground. Asterisk. The youngest sister's hands gripped the controls tighter. Hold on. We break into the high winds now. The ship tilted almost vertical, engines screaming, climbing toward the black sky. The towers fell away beneath them. The hunters followed, but as they rose, the air shimmered thick currents of raw energy, twisting like tornadoes in space. One wrong move in those winds could tear a ship apart. The eldest met John's eyes. If we survive this, you must understand something. The bond between us is not just law. It is war. Asterisk. The galactic chase. The ship screamed upward, slicing through the black sky like a silver arrow. The high winds weren't just air. They were rivers of raw energy, swirling with flashes of lightning that bent sideways and loops of plasma that pulsed like living veins. The hunters followed. 3 blade ships, cutting through the chaos as if they were born in it. The youngest sister's voice was sharp. They're using anchor drives. They can track our trajectory through the energy streams. John leaned forward. Can we shut those off? Not from here, she said. We'd have to disrupt the stream itself. John thought for a second, looking out at the glowing chaos. So, break the road they're driving on? The middle sister glanced at him as if the idea was both stupid and brilliant. Yes, but it will take precision. The ship plunged into a thick spiral of storm energy. Lightning flashed around them, painting the cockpit in white and blue. The hunters closed in, 2 above, 1 diving below, boxing them in. John's gut twisted. They're hurting us. Yes, the eldest said. Toward the rift wall. John frowned. And that's bad because it is a region where ships vanish, she said simply. Asterisk. One of the hunters fired, a beam of burning red that cut past their hull. The youngest banked hard, nearly flipping the ship. The G-force slammed John against his seat. He gritted his teeth. Okay, tell me what I can break. Asterisk. The middle sister pointed to a cluster of floating crystal formations just ahead, spinning slowly in the wind stream. Those are stream stabilizers. Destroy them, and this current will collapse. It will throw anyone in it. Anywhere. John's eyes narrowed. Including us? Yes, she said without hesitation. Great, John muttered. I've always wanted to get lost in space. The eldest opened a side panel, revealing a small weapons console. Manual targeting. Aim for the stabilizers. John slid into the seat, gripping the controls like a video game joystick. The hunters were still closing in, the one below rising fast to cut them off. He exhaled slowly. On Earth, he'd never been a soldier, never even fired a real gun. But he'd spent enough nights at a dingy arcade, blasting pixelated enemies on. A glowing screen. Maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. The targeting reticle flashed red over the nearest stabilizer. John squeezed the trigger. A burst of plasma shot out, hitting dead center. The stabilizer cracked apart, shards spinning away into the wind. The energy stream around them shuddered. The road the hunters were using began to ripple and twist violently. The youngest dove again, weaving through another stabilizer. Two more. The hunters realized what he was doing. The one above dropped directly into his line of sight, its weapons charging. John didn't flinch. He shifted aim slightly, not at the hunter, but at the stabilizer behind it. Out he fired. The shot ripped past the hunter, hitting the crystal dead on. The shock wave buckled the energy stream, tossing the hunter sideways into a lightning arc. The ship exploded in a blinding flash. One left. The middle sister shouted. John swung the reticle again, locked on, and fired. The last stabilizer shattered. The stream collapsed. It happened fast. The wind vanished under them, replaced by a sudden drop into nothingness. The stars stretched, warped, and bent into strange shapes as the ship tumbled through open void. Youngest's hands danced across the controls, fighting to steady them. Hold on, we're leaving mapped space. John's stomach lurched as the black around them shifted into deep blue. Shapes swam in the distance, massive, slow-moving. Forms like sleeping gods. The eldest's voice was quiet now, almost reverent. No hunter will follow us here, but others may notice. John looked out at the impossible horizon. Others? Her silver eyes met his. There are powers older than the law, and they will smell the bond you carry. Asterisk the registry showdown. The ship drifted out of the deep blue void and back into a sky of burning silver. Ahead, floating alone in the emptiness, was a sphere the size of a small moon, the Galactic Registry. Its surface rippled with moving patterns, like a living planet. Dozens of massive gates opened and closed, letting in ships from every direction. Strange shapes moved between them, flying creatures harnessed as transports, fleets of jewel-like vessels, and giant carriers that looked more like living shells than machines. John's mouth went dry. So, this is basically the DMV of space, but bigger? The eldest sister didn't even blink. This is the heart of Galactic Law. Here, the pact can be made binding. Here, you will be recognized as our consort by every world. John swallowed. And if I say no? The middle sister looked at him. Then they will erase your existence, every molecule. Right, guess I'm a yes then. As there. Ship approached the registry gates. Massive Guardian drones swept past, huge spheres of dark metal, their surfaces crawling with moving eyes. John felt their gaze on him, cold and deep, like they were scanning his soul. Inside, the registry was no less strange. A vast city spiraled around the sphere's hollow interior, upside down and sideways, as if gravity had lost interest in rules. Bridges of light connected massive towers filled with floating figures, each one glowing with a faint halo of authority. And in the center of it all, a crystal platform, wide enough to land a small city, bathed in a column of golden light. That, the eldest said, is where the pact will be sealed. They landed. John stepped onto the platform, feeling the weight of 1,000 invisible eyes. The air buzzed with whispers in 100 alien tongues. From the far side, a procession emerged, tall beings draped in robes of shifting colors, their faces hidden behind masks carved with strange, unreadable symbols. At their head walked a figure in crimson, his voice deep and echoing. "House of Zephyr Prime," he announced, "you stand before the tribunal of bonds. Present your claim." The eldest sister stepped forward. "We claim this human as our consort, by the law of delivery oath and signature pact." Whispers rippled through the crowd. The crimson-robed figure raised a long, clawed hand. "And yet, others claim you have abused this law to evade lawful debt." The air split with a sudden snarl. From the shadows stepped the insectoid enforcer, alive, armored, and very angry. Behind him marched a squad of alien warriors, their weapons glowing faintly. This human, the enforcer growled, was tricked. He did not consent to the bond. "I demand nullification and the right to execution." Gasps spread through the chamber. The tribunal's masked judges turned their faceless heads toward John. "You may speak human," the crimson-robed figure said. John froze. Every instinct told him to shut up, to let the sisters handle it. But something in him shifted. Maybe it was the fact that everyone here seemed to think he was just some helpless pawn. He took a step forward. "Yeah, I signed something," John said, loud enough to carry. "But here's the thing. On Earth, a signature doesn't mean anything if it's given under false information. That's called fraud, and fraud, that's against every decent law I've ever heard of. So if you want to honor your own legal system, you can't just erase me. You have to put these guys on trial too." The chamber fell silent. Even the insectoid paused. One of the masked judges tilted their head. "You claim the law must protect the signer, as well as the bondholder?" "Exactly," John said. "Because if you don't, it means Galactic Law is just whoever's biggest gets what they want. And if that's the case, then maybe the rest of the galaxy doesn't need you." The whispering voices grew louder, sharper. Some sounded almost approving. The eldest sister's eyes glimmered with something that might have been pride. "The human speaks truth. Law without fairness is not law at all." The tribunal murmured among themselves. The crimson-robed figure finally raised his hand. "The bond will stand, but so will the protection of the human until a full review is made. None may harm him until this court has ruled." The insectoid's mandibles clicked in fury. "You will regret this, human." "Yeah," John said quietly, "but not as much as you're going to." The golden light around the platform flared, etching John's name in alien script across a massive holographic star map. The bond was official. Every world could see it now. The eldest leaned toward him, her voice low. "You've made us all eyes today, but also enemies without number." John glanced at the insectoid retreating into the shadows. "Story of my life." Asterisk. The twist ending. The golden light faded from the platform, but the hum of the galactic registry still echoed in John's bones. It felt like the moment after a storm, calm on the surface, but heavy with the knowledge that worse weather was coming. The sisters guided him back toward their ship. The crowd's eyes followed them, some curious, some hostile, all calculating. As they reached the docking bay, the eldest spoke quietly. "From this moment, you are a figure in the galaxy's politics. Every ally we have will want to meet you. Every enemy will want you dead." John gave a short, humorless laugh. "Great, just like high school, but with more lasers." They stepped inside the ship. The youngest took the pilot's seat, guiding them away from the registry gates. Stars stretched out before them again, silent and endless. John finally let himself relax into his seat. "Okay, now what?" The middle sister looked at him strangely. "Now, we take you to Zephora Prime. You must be presented to the High Regent, our father." John frowned. Presented like as a guest, or like a prize pig at a fair? The eldest didn't answer, which told him everything. A sudden beep cut through the cockpit. A holographic display flickered to life above the console. A warning. Symbol John didn't recognize, pulsing red. The youngest's hands froze on the controls. "That's not possible." "What's not possible?" John asked. Her voice was low. "The bond signal is being copied." The middle sister's eyes widened. Someone is forging the pact. Asterisk, before John could even process what that meant. The ship's cones crackled to life. A deep, oily voice filled the cabin. "Greetings, human John Miller. You don't know me, but I know everything about you. And now the galaxy will too. By dawn cycle, there will be 10,000 brides demanding your name on their bond." The voice chuckled. "And some of them will come to collect in blood." The transmission cut off. Asterisk John stared at the sisters. "Tell me that was just a prank call." The eldest's face was like stone. "No, that was the broker. The one who sells names and debts to the highest bidder. And he just sold mine?" She nodded. "You are no longer just our consort. You are now the most wanted spouse in 3 galaxies." Asterisk, before John could even swear, the stars ahead of them shifted. A massive fleet emerged from hyperspace. Dozens of ships, all shapes and sizes, blocking their path. Every one of them broadcast the same message: surrender the human. The bond will be ours. The youngest tightened her grip on the controls. "We can't fight them all." The middle sister's gaze locked on John. "This is the part where your human improvisation saves us." John blinked. "You, give me 5 seconds to think of something before we die."